Alright, welcome to my second video in my How to Vibe Code series. These videos aren't necessarily always going to flow one to another, like building on each other or anything like that. It's more, I'm going to, as I continue to learn more about how to better vibe code, I'm going to create new videos and go over some things that I've learned, including going over things that I've covered in previous videos. Each time, probably, I'll make a new project, and we'll just see how it goes. This is something I'm still formulating in my mind and working out as I go. So, one of the first things I like to do, and I mentioned this in the previous video most likely, is when I'm about to create a project, I'll have a conversation with the Copilot, right? So, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but also by repeating things, it kind of gets stuck more in your head, right? I have some experience as a teacher, and I know that I've gotten feedback in both directions with that. Some people say they really appreciate the fact that I go over the same things over and over to really get it, hammer it in. And other people are like, you've already covered this. Why are you doing this to me? I got it the first time. So admittedly, I'm gearing this towards people who appreciate hearing things over and over. Now, I will also, while I'm going over some things that I've already gone over before, I may mention things that I didn't mention the last time I went over it. So it's still in your best interest, if you're kind of wanting to follow along even when I'm going over stuff that you either already know elsewhere or know from an earlier video of mine. But anyways, it's all up to you. I'm just glad you're watching. So we're going to start out in ask mode here in Visual Studio Code, GitHub Copilot. These are all techniques that, in one way or another, you can use in most coding agent tools. So just realize that you might have to adopt this in a certain way or adapt it in a certain way for whatever coding agent you're using. Anyways, back to this. I like to start with a conversation. Let's say I want to create a note-taking app, but I want it to be, I want there to be something unique about it, something novel about it. And I have this feeling that there's something different I could do making a note-taking app, but it's in the back of my mind somewhere. I can't get it out. Maybe this can help me somehow. So, I want to create a note-taking app that's a bit different from ones that are already out there. What are some simple ways I could create a note-taking app with a unique spin? Again, I'm in ask mode. I'm using GPT 4.1. You can kind of use whatever agent you want to use. So mood-based notes let users tag notes with their current mood. That's pretty cool. That could even be good for like a journaling app. Not sure how unique that is, but voice to note, no, that's not. Daily highlights, visual notes, allows users to sketch or doodle directly in notes. I know this is already out there, but I kind of like that idea anyways. Location-based, nah. Note connections, that's definitely already done out there. Minimalist note, is that definitely already done. Habit tracker, yep. Random note reminders, collaborative notes. So I kind of like mood-based notes, and I kind of like these visual notes thing. So this now, right, even though I had this vague idea that I want to have some kind of note-taking app, with this mood-based suggestion, it makes me kind of want to pivot to doing a journaling app. So I'm going to say I like the mood-based idea. Makes me think more along the lines of a journaling app. how might we go about implementing this that won't depend upon services I have to pay for. So in other words, and I'm trying to keep the language like as layman's terms, as non-technical as possible, but I know from experience, right, that if I ask it to do certain things, it might give me some suggestions that are ultimately going to make me have to fork up some money. You know, maybe I'll have to pay for a server or something like that, and I don't want to have to do any of that. I want to just make a simple app that does this mood-based journaling thing. So let's see what it says here based off of my question. Okay, here's how you can implement, blah, blah, blah. So it gives us a tech stack suggestion, core features. All right, good. Local only. Yep. Yeah, so I'm looking for, I'm also going to specify this, and this is things that I've learned in terms of interactions with these coding agents. Some of the types of questions it would ask me when trying to figure out what I want to build, I already know ahead of time, like how I might want to specify certain things. So I'm looking to build this as quickly as possible with a coding agent. I also want the architecture to be as simple as possible. What is your suggested ideal stack? Okay. So it gave us options before, and I'm trying to get it to make decisions for me based off of how I'm responding to what it has responded to me with previously. So ideal stack based off of what I'm specifying. A web app, okay, cool. It's got a front end. Data storage is going to use local storage or IndexedDB. It's built into the browser, right? So this is important for me, right? This means I don't have to pay for any back end stuff, no storage, no server, nothing like that. Like it's all going to be, everything that's saved is going to be saved in the browser. Cool. UI libraries. Cool. So it's why this stack? No backend, fast to build, free, easy to extend. Awesome. Sounds great to me. Would you like a scaffolded project structure or starter code snippet to get going? At this point, I'm pretty happy, and I'm pretty sure it understands generally what I want it to do. So I'm going to switch from ask mode to agent mode, and I'm going to say, go ahead and start building. I'm going to go ahead and click continue for it to do this. One thing that I could have done and should have done, but I skipped this step, is before having it start building, I could have had it build a requirements document or some sort of outline of what it's going to build. Because over time, right, these coding agents have a limited amount of memory. It's a lot of memory, but it's still pretty limited. Oh, it wants me to come up with a package name. We'll just say, oh, I gotta come over to this. Mood journal. All right. Sometimes you gotta watch the terminal over here when you're having the coding agent do stuff, because there's things that it can't automatically do for you, and you're gonna have to interact depending on the kind of project you're making and what it's doing for you. That's what I was gonna say. So it is building a README. That's something that can be kind of helpful for keeping it on track. All right, so it's going through the process, installing a bunch of different stuff for us. Again, for anyone who's watching who's an experienced developer or engineer, you might say things like, oh, do you really want the AI to be choosing which packages are going to be installed? What if there's going to be extra bloat? What if it's going to be inefficient? And so on and so on and so on, right? Yep, those are all things to keep in mind. All of the stuff that I am putting on my channel is geared towards people who are not experienced or who are very minimally experienced, right? And with the understanding that this is just going to get you up and running with something that is either just perfectly fine for you to use on your own, or eventually you can use it as a tool to learn more and refine yourself as well, using coding agents perhaps to help you along that path. Yep. Looks like we got an error, but see, and this is something that I've covered previously to some extent. Sometimes errors will happen, and the Copilot or the coding agent won't detect that the error has happened. So, right, this says my journaling app is scaffolded, ready to go, blah, blah, blah. Over here, right, we have our app is up and running, but there was an error here. So let's go ahead and just let it know. I'm going to copy everything, a bunch of this stuff. I do see this error in my terminal. Okay. You do want to keep your eyes open, right? Even as a layman, not necessarily approaching this in a very technical manner, if you see errors happening, there's a chance that it is something that should be fixed. Now, sometimes things will just work with whatever functionality you want to use, and that's totally fine. But this could be a hint that there's something underlying that could crop up later on when trying to implement other things or whatever. It's better to catch the stuff immediately when it happens. Because if I was to just leave this alone and then continue building other things, and then this ended up causing issues down the road, it might take a while for the coding agent to be able to help me figure out what the problem is. If I take care of it immediately, then it's in that immediate context that the coding agent is already operating in, and it can go ahead and try and solve it there. Okay, good. It'll automatically determine that. So it tried to give me a command that would normally only work, in like a bash-like terminal. It's just to say, it doesn't work in Windows. Right? So it revised the command to be more suitable for Windows. We still got an error. Let's just do this real quick. Yep. So it saw the error. It sees it. Yep. So it is seeing these errors that are happening, and it's adjusting how it's using these emoji things, right? I'm assuming it's going to use these emojis as sort of symbols for the different moods. Let's go ahead and... Cool. That worked this time. So now it's saying, please refresh or restart your dev server and check your app. What I'm going to do is copy this. My microphone is in the way. How do I paste? See, I'm being lazy. Refresh, start my dev server. Right, because maybe I don't know how to do that. So it's telling me to do something I don't know how to do. I'm going to ask it, how do I do it? So it's telling me I can do npm run dev. npm run dev. Still showing. Let's see. Okay. Looks like I might still be getting those emoji errors. See what it says. Gonna catch those errors. Okay. Okay. It's just kind of breaking it down and trying to make sure it installs all the required libraries. Now the dev server, get out of here. Oh. Thank you. Good. All right, we're going to go ahead and run that command again, the npm run dev. It's still saying this, but let's just see. Yep, of course. We're still running into that issue. Let's go ahead and paste it in here. And by the way, right, so a lot of people will point out issues that they're seeing, errors that pop up, and the coding agent's having a hard time fixing them. And why did the coding agent even make this error before? This is the problem with using coding agents, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's certainly not like this never happens when humans are doing these things. So it's just basically you're just saying the coding agents aren't necessarily perfect. And, well, human being coders are certainly not perfect either. Import paths. Please start and restart. All right, so it's saying, well, this is funny, right? So let me run this again. Almost. It's better, right? So we got an error here. Where is my last time that I ran that command? Making progress here, believe it or not. I'm going to copy this. And you know what, we'll go ahead and copy all the way down to the bottom. We got a slightly different error, which is normally, or at least oftentimes, a good sign. Right, so it's checking what versions and stuff we have, blah, blah, blah. I think it might be getting stuck in a loop of doing the same things over and over again, which can happen sometimes. Let's see. So it's giving us a few different suggestions, right? It's saying that there's an incompatibility, basically, between our version of React that we're using and the emoji picker library that we're using. We can use a different emoji picker library that's compatible with React 19, or we can implement a simple emoji picker using Chakra UI menu and a list of emoji. I'm going to lean towards implementing this, like switching over to Chakra, because dealing with node dependencies, which is the issue that we're having here, can really be a pain in the neck. So even though it can simplify things when it works, when there are certain updates to some libraries that impact other libraries, it becomes a big web of junk. And so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to using this custom emoji picker using Chakra. Switch to a simple custom emoji. Especially since it says your app, so your app works right away, right? My interest as someone, hypothetically as someone with no experience, I want this thing to work right away. Otherwise, I'm just going to get burnt out being frustrated and skip it and move on to something else. But let's go ahead and just get something working. That's really annoying. Okay, so I'm telling it to go ahead and make that change. And this is something where, a coding agent can really come in handy. Not that it will necessarily do this perfectly, but the manual human coding process of switching something architecturally speaking can be quite an undertaking, even something relatively simple like this. Let's go ahead and try this again. I'm going to switch over to npm run dev. Okay, it's running. Not seeing anything over here. Let's inspect. Console, uncaught syntax error. There's no way that you could possibly read this, but I'm going to copy it over to my chat window here so you could read it better. So it's saying that the coding agent isn't using the Chakra library properly, basically. Let's see if it picks up on that. All right, what we're going to do after this is ask it to create a way of keeping track of what it has built and what the next steps in the plan are, and then to continue updating that as it goes. All right, so recognize that there was a specific part of the Chakra that we needed to install. Looks like there was an issue. It automatically caught it, so it's going to try and force this install. See what happens. Asking us to restart our thing here. Okay, we got another error. Let's just copy it. Well, first of all, we're going to do this. We're going to say, got another error. Paste that there. Also, please, some kind of file that you can refer to while continuing to build. It should keep track of what you've completed, what you've had to change in the architecture, and what you plan to do next and further into the future. All right. What I'm essentially asking it to do there is create a some sort of context. I have a meeting in about 15 minutes, so if I don't finish this up by then. All right, so it's saying for compatibility's sake, we got to downgrade Chakra. See if it picks up on the fact that there were some errors there. It's listing out the different versions, and it's going to try some other ones and make sure it gets all the dependencies. Okay, that looks like it worked better. It's telling us to, and it also created this project progress thing here. All right. Hey, okay. Looks like it's finally up and running. Let's, I'm in the wrong window here. Come here. Make that bigger for us. How are you feeling today? Stressed about my upcoming meeting. And then we can select our mood. We'll say, this. Add. All right. And then I'll say excited about a job interview. So we'll switch this to, I don't know, that. Add that. Then it's got this filter thing. We can filter between our moods. We'll just see this one. Good. We'll just see this one. Good. We'll see all of them. Awesome. So this is our basic mood journal up and running. Cool, cool, cool. One of the main things that I want you to have taken away from this second video in how to vibe code is creating this thing that we did near the end, right? One of the last things I asked it to do is hidden in here. I asked it to create basically its own little context file that it can refer to in the future when building things, right? Because it's going to keep track of what it has done under this completed section, the issues it encountered, right? Someone made this suggestion in one of my earlier videos, right? Something like this. Architecture changes. Okay. Then it's got next steps here, which is great. So that when you come back to this project, maybe you've even forgotten what you want to do, right? You can come back over here to this project progress, see what the next steps are, and then future plans, right? These are all important. Other things that you could ask the coding agent to create for you, just in terms of managing the project, would be a statement of work, feature requests, things like that. Let's see if I have any other suggestions. I don't want to get too much more yet because I only have about 13 minutes until my call. I think, and then it also made this README, right, which it has updated over time. Good. It's pretty minimal, but that's all right. What did we do? We created this mood journal app. We troubleshooted many errors that the vibe coding agent was running into. We helped it do that sometimes by copying and pasting things from the console in our web browser. Also from our terminal window, we've copied and pasted things over into the chat. And we defined what the project was going to be by first having a discussion with the coding agent. So by having that discussion first, you define kind of a clear path forward, and then at the end, we tied it back into having a clear path forward by having it make this project progress outline markdown file that itself and ourselves can keep track of. Let me know what else you'd like me to cover in the future. I'm going to make another one of these, possibly even later today, and I'll go into more detail on, ways that you can make the experience go as smoothly as possible going forward. That's going to be my main focus in the next one. So before any coding gets implemented in our next how to vibe code thing, we're going to have it create ways of keeping itself on track, and we're going to have it actually create a prompt for us for it, right? Because one of the best things you can learn to do with vibe coding is learning how to help the vibe coding agent help you. Anyways, that's it for this second video in the How to Vibe Code series. If you like it, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you have suggestions, please go ahead and leave some comments. And until next time, happy coding.